You've had 78 days to talk. I'll give you 10 seconds to tell me the flaw.
What needs to happen is America needs to have a percentage of the votes.
What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be doing a Survivor What If thought experiment. Now, obviously, everyone knows the game of Survivor works by putting a group of strangers on an island and they vote each other out, and the winner gets decided by a jury, which is made up of a small group of the most recent voted out players of the season. But what if the producers did not format the show this way? What if Survivor was always intended from the very beginning to have the winner be decided by the viewers? Now, yes, I know a lot of comments are already going to be talking about how the edits are favored to certain individuals, and yes, I understand that. That's why we're doing the experiment. We want to find out if the results of any season's outcome would have changed if the viewers had the chance to vote for the winner. Now, I want everyone to take these results with a grain of salt. I only polled around 200 people. That's about 0.00435% of the amount of people that watched Survivor 48 this year. Now, the way we're going to review this data is by going in season order. If you, for some reason, don't want to know the winners of every Survivor season, this is your chance to pause this video and come back to it once you've watched every single season you need to, because we're going to be spoiling every single final tribal council of the series. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. I'll be posting at least once a week this summer, so there's plenty of content coming your way. One quick disclaimer before we dive in is that I didn't give fans any specific criteria on how to vote. I didn't say to pick who played the best game or who was the most likable. I simply just asked everyone to vote. Unlike us as viewers, the jurors on the actual show have a personal connection to the finalists, so their votes are often influenced by real-life dynamics. But unlike us, they don't have access to everything that happened on screen. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the results. Starting with season 1, we had Richard Hatch versus Kelly Wigglesworth. Their jurors voted Hatch to win the season with a narrow vote of 4-3. And the viewers followed suit and voted Hatch to win with 83% of the vote. One important note about this experiment: for each question, participants had the option to choose no vote, didn't watch. We took those responses into account and recalculated all the voting percentages to reflect only the people who actually watched the season. In other words, we excluded the did not watch votes from the main totals to ensure that the results were as accurate as possible. So for Survivor Borneo, only 7.3% of voters did not watch. Up next is season 2, and we had Tina Wesson versus Colby Donaldson. The jurors voted Tina to win the season with another narrow vote of 4-3, and the viewers followed suit and voted Tina to win with only 55% of the votes and Colby with 44%. This is honestly very representative of the jury vote we ended up getting for this season, but part of me was a little shocked the viewers still voted for Tina to win. Colby didn't have the greatest FTC performance, but I thought it would be flipped. Up next is season 3, and we have Ethan versus Kim. The jurors voted Ethan to win with a vote of 5-2, and the viewers voted Ethan to win with a profound 95% of the vote. This is the largest percentage of any of the winners we got in this entire video. It could be due to the high 10% of people that didn't watch this season, which if you haven't already watched it, like, why? But honestly, good for Ethan getting 95%. Up next is Survivor Marquesas, and we had Vesepia versus Nalia. The jurors voted Vesepia to win with a vote of 4-3, and the viewers agreed and voted Vesepia to win with 90% of the votes. I don't think there should be much of a shock here. I mean, we're 4 for 4 with getting the winner right. I was definitely shocked to see a high percentage of people that didn't watch this season though. Up next is Survivor Thailand, and we had Brian versus Clay. The jurors voted Brian to win with a vote of 4-3, and the viewers agreed and voted Brian to win with 86% of the vote. This season had the highest percentage of people that didn't watch, which I don't find shocking, but I do think that everyone should give it a try at some point. I recently had a watch of it, and I didn't mind it too much, but the data for this isn't really surprising me either. Up next is Survivor the Amazon, and we had Jenna versus Matt. The jurors voted Jenna to win with a 6-1 vote, and the viewers agreed yet again and voted Jenna to win with a 79% of the votes. I feel like this one kind of did shock me. I was certain Matt would get a little bit more votes, but I guess it makes sense that the early seasons were pretty much cut and dry, and the success of the show was mostly because the audience was agreeing with the winner most of the time, or at least through my poll. Up next, we have Survivor Pearl Islands, and we had Sandra versus Lil. The jurors voted Sandra to win by a vote of 6-1, and the fan poll agreed with an astonishing 94% for Sandra. This again isn't too shocking. I think anyone who actually did vote for Lil may have been trolling even. Sandra's win here is the second most percentage of any votes for any person in this entire video. Up next, Survivor All-Stars, and we had the famous final two duo of Rob and Amber. The jurors voted for Amber to win with a vote of 4-3, and the fan poll disagreed for the first time and actually voted for Rob to win with 75% of the vote. Here we have our first disagreement between the fan vote and the actual outcome, But considering Rob was just 1 vote away from winning, it's not exactly a shocking result. Rob played one of the most dominant and cutthroat games in the early days of Survivor this season, so him winning the fan poll doesn't surprise me. Up next is Survivor Vanuatu, and we had Chris versus Twyla. The jurors voted Chris to win with a 5-2 vote, and the fan poll voted Chris to win with 85% of the vote. Again, so far, it's not that surprising of results. The early days of Survivor were way more cut and dry, especially with there being only 2 people to vote for, but Chris here winning doesn't shock me in the slightest. Up next, we have Survivor Palau, and we have Tom versus Katie. The jurors voted Tom to win by a vote of 6-1. But the fan poll also voted for Tom to win with 91% of the vote. Again, not that shocking. Tom had one of the most dominant runs in Survivor, so I wasn't expecting the result to change at all here. Up next, we have Survivor Guatemala, and we had Danny versus Stephanie. The jurors voted Danny to win by a vote of 6-1. And the fan poll actually disagreed by a close margin of 52% for Stephanie and 47% for Danny. I couldn't agree more with the fan poll on this one. I think Stephanie was truly the first robbed winner other than Boston Rob himself. No hate towards Danny, but I think Steph definitely deserved this win, and it's a loss that doesn't sit well with me even to this day. I'm very much interested to see how Steph does on 50 because we recently saw Danny play Winners at War, and she didn't do that great either. But yeah, this being close doesn't entirely shock me either. Up next is Survivor Panama with Aris versus Danielle. The jurors voted Aris to win by a vote of 5-2, and the fan poll voted Aris to win as well with 80% of the votes. Not really any shock here for me as well, as Aris was the clear-cut choice out of the 2 here. Nothing of note here. Let's move on. Up next is Survivor Cook Islands. This was the first time we had 3 people in the final tribal, and it was Yule, Ozzy, and Becky. The jurors of that season voted Yule to win by a close vote of 5-4-0, and the fan poll also saw Yule winning with 81% of the votes. I would say I'm shocked, but I'm honestly really not. I don't think Ozzy is or will ever be a rootable winner on any season he's on. Maybe the exception of South Pacific, but he didn't make Final Tribal. And I think the fans of today are kind of tired of his shtick, so I think that's why it's so much in Yule's favor instead of being a closer vote. Up next is Survivor Fiji, and we had Earl, Dreams, and Cassandra. The jurors of the season voted Earl to win unanimously, and the viewers also voted Earl to win with 89% of the votes. There's really no surprise here either. Earl was the first unanimous winner, so him winning the fan vote as well makes sense. Up next is Survivor China, and we had Todd, Courtney, and Amanda in Final Tribal Council. The jurors voted Todd to win by a vote of 4-2-1, and the fan polls saw Todd win as well with only 59% of the vote. This one was a lot closer than I expected, but the percentages of the fan vote actually line up almost perfectly as if it was a real jury vote. Courtney getting 22% and Amanda at 18% just makes sense. I think Todd should have gotten more of the fan vote, but that's just me. I think he had one of the better Final Tribal Council performances in all of Survivor history. Up next is Survivor Micronesia, fans versus favorites, and we had Parvati and Amanda in Final Tribal. The jurors voted Parvati to win by a vote of 5-3, and the viewer poll also voted Parvati to win with 85% of the votes. I expected this to be a little bit closer in my opinion. I think with the jury vote being as close as it was, I expected Amanda to get a little bit more love from the fans, but I guess the fans have spoken. Up next is Survivor Gabon, and we had Bob, Susie, and Sugar in FTC. What a time. And the jury voted Bob to win by a vote of 4-3-0. The viewers disagreed and actually voted for Sugar to win, a 0-vote finalist, with 44% of the votes. This was the lowest percentage that anyone received and won a season from the fan vote. Mind you, this is the only instance in this entire video that a 0-vote finalist was voted for as the winner by the fans. This one doesn't shock me. It's already just a mess of a season, and with fans deeming Bob as the most undeserving winner of all time, I wasn't expecting him to win this. However, I have an unpopular opinion that Bob did kind of deserve to win that season, even though it wasn't the flashiest of games. And I hate to say this because I'm a fan of Sugar as well, but I think Bob won probably because of his performance in FTC compared to Susie and Sugar. Up next is Survivor Tocantins, and we had JT versus Steven. The jurors voted JT to win with 7-0, and the fans voted 74% in favor of JT winning as well. I wasn't expecting there to be a big change in opinion from the real jury votes to the fan votes. These guys both played great games, and I think are one of the most iconic duos in the game's history. I just think JT kind of walked Steven in FTC, and I think that's why the vote is pretty cut and dry. Up next, we have Survivor Samoa, and we had a final 3 of Natalie White, Russell Hantz, and Mick. The jurors of the season crowned Natalie the winner with a vote of 7-2-0, but the fans, on the other hand, crowned Russell the winner with 55% of the votes and 43% going to Natalie. I think it's funny to me how close the vote was here because there are some cult followers of Russell, but we clearly still have a decent amount of silent Natalie fans as well. Russell was part of the reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place because of his rant at the Heroes vs. Villains reunion, So Russell, I hope this makes you happy. In the fans' eyes, I guess you truly are the winner of Survivor Samoa. Up next, we have Survivor Heroes versus Villains. We had an iconic final three of Sandra, Parvati, and yet again, Russell Hantz. The winner of this season, of course, was Sandra with a 6-3-0 vote, but the true winner in the eyes of the fans is Parvati with 55% of the vote. Sandra getting 33% and Russell only getting 11%. I'm not incredibly shocked by this, but I'm surprised Russell was that low, to be honest. I guess what I'm taking from this is that Parvati's double idol play, which was one of the most iconic tribal moments, was enough to give her the win here. Again, not too shocked by this, but the fans have spoken and this season's result would have been different had the fans voted. Up next, we have Survivor Nicaragua. We had Fabio, Chase, and Sash in the final three. The jurors voted Fabio the winner with a vote of 5-4-0, and the fan poll voted Fabio as well with a 60% of the vote. I think it's fair. I mean, I don't have much to say about it. I feel like it's a pretty forgettable season and I'm due for a rewatch. So off the top of my head, I can't really determine if I'm too shocked by this. But yeah, I think the data speaks for itself here. Up next, we have Survivor Redemption Island. And in the final three, we had Boston Rob, Philip Shepard, and Natalie Tenorelli. The jury voted Rob as the winner in an 8-1-0 vote. And the fans also sided with the jury and voted Rob as the winner with a whopping 91%. Again, no shock here. Rob pretty much dog walked the entire season and played one of the most dominant Survivor games of all time, causing many people to say this was one of the most boring seasons. But people like me tend to disagree with that take. Anyway, I think that the data here makes sense, and I don't think had we gotten more votes for this video that Philip or Natalie could have actually won here. Up next, we have Survivor South Pacific, and in the final three, we had Sophie, Clark, Coach, and Albert. And the jury voted for Sophie to win this season with a 6-3-0 vote. But the fans have spoken and voted for Coach as the true winner of this season with 53% of the vote. Sophie getting 46 and Albert getting a whopping 0%. He literally got no votes. I'm not terribly surprised by this. I think Coach, like Boston Rob, kind of took the season by the balls and led a pretty successful alliance the entire way through. However, I think Sophie was a bit more endearing and kind of rose to the occasion at the end, so I can see why the jury did vote for her. However, I do see why Coach won the fan vote here, as he's one of the most beloved and favorited contestants to ever play the game. So no matter how bad his game could have been, I believe that the fans would have still voted for him no matter what. Up next is Survivor One World. In the final three, we have Kim Spradlin, Sabrina, and Chelsea. And Kim won by a vote of 7-2-0 by the jury. And the fans also voted for Kim to win the season with 92% of the votes. Again, not a shocking one here. Kim is one of the most dominant winners in Survivor history, and it would have taken a huge effort for anybody but Kim to win this season. So, not really shocked here. Up next is Survivor Philippines, and in the final three, we had Denise, Lisa, and Mike Skupin. The jury voted Denise as the winner with a vote of 6-1-1, and the fans also agreed and voted Denise to win with 83% of the votes. Not a shock here. I think Denise played one of the hardest games in Survivor, being on the losing tribe and going to every tribal her season and still winning. So I think the fans really appreciate that about her game. As for the rest, I think it's a huge red flag and pretty alarming that we still had 6% of fans voting for Mike Skupin in the big 2025, so ouch. Up next, we have Survivor Karamoan. In the final three, we had Cochran, Dawn, and Sherry. The jury unanimously voted for Cochran as the winner, and the fans voted Cochran to win with an 88% of the vote. I was not expecting an upset here. I think Cochran easily wins this season because he brought two goats to the end. So good on Cochran for forcing everyone to have to vote for him. And that's pretty much all I have to say on this season. Up next is Survivor Blood vs. Water. The final three was Tyson, Monica, and Jervis, and the jury voted for Tyson to be the winner with 7-1-0. And the fans also voted Tyson to be the winner with 84% of the votes. Again, not shocked. Tyson played a great game this season. I was not expecting the fans to vote otherwise, considering how adored he is in the Survivor world. Up next, we have Survivor Cagayan. The final two of this was Tony and Wu. The jury gave Tony the win with an 8-1 vote, and the fans awarded Tony the win with 92% of the votes. Not a shock whatsoever. I feel like a lot of the seasons in the 20s just had very clear-cut winners in FTC, and Tony ends up going to be a two-time winner, so I wasn't expecting an upset here either. Up next is Survivor San Juan del Sur. The final three was Natalie, Jacqueline, and Missy, and the jury voted for Natalie to win by a vote of 5-2-1. And the fans voted for Natalie to be the winner with a 93% vote. Yet again, I'm not expecting much of an upset here. However, Jacqueline only getting 5% is a bit of a shock considering she wasn't a terrible player. I just think Natalie had a great edit and proved herself to be a great winner and has aged well in that sense. Up next, we have Survivor Worlds Apart. We finally made it to the 30s. The final three of this season was Mike, Carolyn, and Will. The jury voted Mike to win with a 6-1-1 vote. And the fans also voted Mike as the winner with 64% of the vote going towards him. I actually think this vote is very fair. I think I'm satisfied with the amount of people that voted for Carolyn, considering her game was pretty decent as well for her stature. So good on her. As for Will, similar to Albert from South Pacific, he got 0 votes from the fans. Ouch. Up next, we have Survivor Cambodia, Second Chance. And in the final 3, we had Jeremy, Spencer, now known as Ryman, and Tasha. The jury voted Jeremy as the winner with a unanimous vote of 10-0 to 0. And the fans voted Jeremy as the winner with a 77% of the vote. I think the data here is fair and makes sense to me. I think 21% going to Spencer or Ryman is fair, and I think speaks volumes and should maybe give closure to some Spencer fans that maybe a win for him wasn't in the cards, but you can't deny Jeremy's game in this season. He absolutely killed it. Next, we have the polarizing Survivor Co-Wrong, and I bet some of you probably skipped to this season specifically just to find out what the hell happened with the fan vote. In the final 3, we had Michelle, Aubrey, and Ty, and the jury voted for Michelle to win with a 5-2 to 0 vote, and the fans voted for Aubrey to be the winner with 52% of the vote. I'm actually quite shocked. I personally voted for Michelle. I don't think it's a secret. I'm not the biggest fan of Aubrey's game, but I do think Michelle dominated the end game of Co-Wrong, and I think her gameplay in Winners at War kind of solidified that it wasn't just a one-off fluke that she ended up winning her first season. I think to me, Aubrey's performance every time she's played has been weaker. But yes, I believe her best performance has to be Co-Wrong. Was it enough in my eyes for her to actually be the winner? I don't think so. And I know you guys will probably disagree clearly by the fan poll that we just ran, but I don't get the Aubrey appeal, and I'm kind of disappointed to say the least with the result. Up next, we have Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. The final 3 of this season was Adam, Hannah, and Ken, and the jury voted for Adam to win unanimously. The fans have also voted for Adam as the winner with 69% of the vote. I knew Adam would win this poll. I mean, he's very much embodied his season to a T, but I'm shocked at the 19% for Hannah. Like, I don't get it. Can someone in the comments let me know why she even got 19%? Up next is Survivor Game Changers. The final 3 was Sarah Lucina, Brad Culpepper, and Troy Zan. The jury voted for Sarah to be the winner with a 7-3 to 0 vote, and the fans voted Sarah to be the winner as well with 78% of the vote. I can't say that I'm surprised here, although Brad getting 16% does shock me here. I feel like there'd be some more people that appreciate that style of game, but Sarah was clearly the deserving winner of this season. I don't think this result is shocking either. Up next, we have Survivor HVHVH. At the final 3, we had Ben, Chrissy, and Ryan, and the jury ultimately rewarded Ben the win by a vote of 5-2 to 1. But the fans disagree with the jury and voted Chrissy the winner with 62% of the votes. I think this is a perfect scenario here. I think Chrissy winning makes sense to me. I'm not even a Ben hater. I just really liked her FTC speech. I think it was one of the most powerful speeches ever seen on Survivor. And the fact that the jury didn't resonate with that kind of blows my mind a bit. I'll take her as the winner of HVHVH any day. I agree with the poll here. Up next is Survivor Ghost Island. We had Dominic, Wendell, and Laurel in the final 3, with the jury, or Laurel, rewarding Wendell the win after an unprecedented tie vote. And the win ultimately went to Wendell over Dominic. The fans, however, spoke, and the winner of Ghost Island to them was Dominic with 69% of the votes. Not exactly a shocker here. I mean, Ghost Island has always been one of the duller entries from the 30s era. If I had to choose between watching it a third time or rewatching Super Bowl 48, I'd take the Super Bowl. Dom and Wendell made a strong pair, but the overall cast felt weak. Most of the standout personalities were gone by the merge, leaving the back half of the season pretty forgettable. Wendell winning makes sense, but I totally get why fans might have preferred a different outcome. Up next is Survivor David vs. Goliath. We had Nick Wilson, Mike White, and Angelina in the top 3. The jury rewarded Nick the win with a vote of 7-3 to 0. However, the fans voted for Mike White to be the true deserving winner with 48% of the vote. It's honestly wild to me that a season often praised as one of the best newbie seasons of the past decade ended with such a divisive outcome. You'd think a season held in such high regard would have a universally respected winner, but clearly that's not how a lot of people see it. I think if we've learned anything from this video so far, it's that the winner of a season doesn't determine if the season's good or bad. My personal opinion on Survivor 37 is that it's criminally overrated. I mean, it's a good season, but it's not in my top 5 for me. Up next, we have Survivor Edge of Extinction. We had Chris Underwood, Gavin, and Julie in the top 3. The jury gave Chris Underwood the win with a 9-4 to 0 vote, even after being voted out of the game. But the fans have spoken and awarded Gavin the win with 53% of the vote. I don't agree with the fans here. I know Chris is looked at as a bad winner, but he's not a bad winner. I mean, come on. Yes, I mean, he was voted out, but the theme of the season allowed people who were voted out a second chance to play the game. I mean, Chris took his shot, it worked, and I think that he deserved the win here. I will say the voting margin was still very close, and I think that had we gotten maybe 1,000 more votes, it could have swayed in either direction, but I think the fans definitely got it wrong here. Up next, we have Survivor Island of the Idols. The final 3 was Tommy, Dean, and Nora, and the jury voted Tommy to win with an 8-2-0 vote. And the fans voted for Tommy to be the winner with 62% of the votes. I was actually shocked, and I wouldn't have been surprised had Dean gotten more votes here, but this is a season I really don't care much about. I think either of the guys winning here was fine over Nora. I have nothing else to say here. Let's move on to Survivor 40, Winners at War. The final 3 was Tony, Natalie, and Michelle, and the jury voted Tony as the winner with a vote of 12-4-0. The fans also voted Tony as the winner with 80% of the votes. Again, not a shocker. Tony played a dominant game. He wasn't voted out, unlike Natalie, who in my opinion had the only other amount of win equity on this season. So the way that the jury voted and the way that the fans voted pretty much lines up percentage-wise and isn't shocking to me. Up next, we make it to the new era, and we're at Survivor 41. The final 3 was Erica, Deshawn, and Xander. The jury voted Erica to win with a 7-1-0 vote, and the fans also voted Erica to win with 50% of the vote. This one actually may shock some of you guys because I was certain people were going to still be voting for Xander because everyone thought that he deserved it after 41 aired. But I think that now that time has passed and over time, people have been coming around to the idea that the season wasn't edited in Erica's favor. So still a very close vote, but let's move on to Survivor 42. The final 3 was Marianne, Mike, and Romeo. The jury voted for Marianne as the winner with a 7-1-0 vote, and the fans voted for Marianne to win with 73% of the vote. The only thing about the data here from this season that is actually shocking to me was the fact that this was the 4th most watched season out of every season of Survivor, according to everyone that voted in this poll. Other than that, I think the data pretty much speaks for itself here. I don't have much to add other than that this makes sense to me. Up next, we have Survivor 43, and the final 3 was Mike Gabler, Cassidy, and Owen. The jury voted for Gabler to win with a 7-1-0 vote, and the fans voted for Gabler to win with 46% of the votes. He got the lowest percentage for a winner that actually won their season's fan poll vote, but he still won. I'm actually shocked that he still won the fan poll. I was sure a lot of you guys were going to be Cassidy fans, but I guess more people out there are still ride or dies for Gabler. Up next is Survivor 44, and the final 3 was Jam Jam, Heidi, and Carolyn. The jury voted for Jam Jam to win by a vote of 7-1-0, yet again in the new era. The jury voted Jam Jam to win by a vote of 7-1-0, and the fan poll had Jam Jam as the winner with 53% of the votes. Carolyn nearly beat him though with 43%, which adds to my argument about Survivor 44 being incredibly biased towards Carolyn in the edit because she was such a character. But I don't think her character hit the other contestants as much as it hit home with us as viewers. I personally would have gave Jam Jam my vote here to win in all honesty, so at least I can say I do agree with the fan vote here. Up next is Survivor 45, and the final 3 was Dee, Austin, and Jake. The jury voted Dee to win with a 5-3-0 vote, and the fan vote sided with Dee winning with 70% of the vote. I think this one was to be expected. I think Dee is one of the better winners of the new era, if not the best, but this is obviously being recorded before seeing how she does on 50, so only time will tell how her legacy holds up. Up next, we have Survivor 46, and the final 3 was Kenzie, Charlie, and Ben. The jury voted for Kenzie to win with a 5-3-0 vote, but the fans actually voted for Charlie to be the winner with 58% of the vote. I'm just gonna say it, I think the fans totally got it wrong here. You guys need to rewatch 46 and tell me I'm wrong. I think the only flaw in Kenzie's game was the fact that she wasn't able to claim the Tiffany blindside as her own because Maria just did it first. But Kenzie truly deserved the win in my whole honest opinion. I'll take all the heat from the Charlie fans, but just allow me to have this one disagreement. Up next, we have Survivor 47, and the final 3 was Rachel, Sam, and Sue. The jury voted for Rachel to win by a vote of 7-1-0, and the fans voted for Rachel to win with 60% of the vote. I think now that 47 has had some time to oxidize and age, I think Rachel's win is kind of making more sense to me over time. I do know that fans loved Sam's FTC speech, so that's why he has 36% at least. Plus, he was a great player too, but I think the vote being as close as it is here makes sense. Up next, and finally, we have the latest season as of recording this video, and we have Survivor 48. The final 3 was Kyle, Eva, and Joe, and the jury voted for Kyle to win with a 5-2-1 vote. The fans voted and named Kyle as the most deserving winner of 48 with 72% of the vote. I gotta agree with the fans here. In fact, I think the vote should have been way more cut and dry than this already was. I think Kyle has easily dominated 48, pulling off some of the greatest moves in the new era, such as the Shaheen blindside and the Thomas blindside. This data makes sense to me, and I'm glad that we're finally able to have gone through each season and see all the data once and for all. For those of you that maybe have skipped to the end of this video, here is a more simplified version of the data that shows in order of percentage-wise who the audience voted to win for each season. If you like this video and want to see more, remember to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to start making more Big Brother videos now that summer has started, so get ready to dive into more BB content. If you're into gaming, I have a Big Brother Minecraft series dropping on July 11th of this year, so you don't want to miss that. Also, if you're not already in my Discord server, now's a great time to join. The link is below. Come hang out and chat with other reality TV fans. Looking ahead, I plan to revisit this video next summer, possibly after Survivor 50 airs, and redo the poll and see how the votes might shift. Plus, if you're a Big Brother fan, I've got something for you too. I'm launching the exact same poll, but for Big Brother. The link is in the description, so go vote for who you think should have won each season, and later this summer, we'll break down those results together. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.